We might not ever have to worry about Michael Saylor ever actually having to sell any Bitcoin out of MicroStrategy, and it's because of what the Bank of Japan did today. So let's talk about it. For context, the Bank of Japan hiked rates today, and that constricts global liquidity. That does put pressure on Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy, maybe one day having to sell Bitcoin. It's one of the cases that they talked about. A couple weeks ago, the CEO of MicroStrategy came out and said, hey, we would have to sell Bitcoin if this scenario happened. One, the stock of MicroStrategy goes down and the price of Bitcoin goes down. And two, we no longer have easy access to liquidity to keep borrowing money to keep buying Bitcoin. And the Bank of Japan hiking rates constricts global liquidity. It makes it harder to borrow money. And on January 15th, Morgan Stanley is supposed to be having a vote to potentially kick MicroStrategy out of their index, and that could cause a lot of selling on the stock. So it could cause the stock to fall. And also, if the Bank of Japan were actually hiking rates quickly, global liquidity would be super tight. It would be hard for them to borrow. That would cause a lot of panic in the streets. People would be like, oh my God, Michael Saylor is going to have to sell all of his Bitcoin. This is horrible. And then people would probably start selling Bitcoin. And it's the worst case scenario for Michael Saylor having to sell Bitcoin, right? But we're avoiding that most likely with the Bank of Japan. Because even if, and it's still an if, Morgan Stanley kicks MicroStrategy out of their indexes and there's a lot of selling of their stock, because the Bank of Japan is hiking rates slowly, that constriction of global liquidity is going to be pushed back and start to expand because of what the US Fed is doing with their rate cuts and also their quantitative easing. So if Morgan Stanley kicks MicroStrategy out, you're going to see all this hoopla and FUD about, oh my God, Michael Saylor is going to have to sell his Bitcoin now. The stock is tanking. This is exactly what we're talking about. And it will absolutely be FUD. It'll just be fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It'll be an emotional story meant to trigger emotional selling. But understand that Michael Saylor will still have fairly easy access to continue to borrow money and buy more Bitcoin because the Bank of Japan isn't moving quickly. They are taking their time, and that leaves the door open for them to most likely buy more Bitcoin.